Hello, hello, YouTube family. I just want to give us a little time to let some good people come on in the space. So let me get the countdown going. Hello, hello, and welcome. My name is Nzali, and this is Nzali Takes Africa. Welcome to the channel. For those of you who are new to this space, I would like to officially welcome you. Make sure you let me know where you're watching in the comments. You can also, if you're part of the replay gang, make sure you let me know where you're watching from in the replays. So I am Nzali, and I help women just like you, Black women all around the world, create the life that they deserve while living on the African continent. So you all saw the title, you clicked on the video, so you know what we're talking about today. It took me a few days to kind of like get in the space where I was ready to discuss this, right? I was ready to talk about what I was seeing, what I was seeing, you know? Um, last week, as we all know, last week, as we know, or not last week, really this week, because it's not Sunday yet, the US had its elections, and the US decided, America decided. America decided what they wanted for their next 4 years for presidency. They decided what they wanted for the Senate, for the House of Representatives, and really internationally, what will represent the country. Um, and personally, I was not pleased with the outcome. I thought that we were in a different space, but this was a rude awakening. And I think it was a necessary awakening for people to know that just because you're in your bubble, right, your circular group of people, and you all kind of feel the same way and have the same sentiments, that is not necessarily true for other people. Specifically for people who are in my generation, I would say like younger millennials, I think this was our slap in the face moment, because all of us who are in my age group, we never experienced segregation. We didn't experience what it was like trying to integrate. We didn't experience Jim Crow. We didn't experience Reconstruction. We didn't experience slavery. So a lot of us knew these things in theory. We just didn't know them like in everyday real life, real life, real life. Like people really can feel this way. And this was our wake up call that nope, there are some people who really are the other side, and they feel strongly, just as strongly, if not more, than you do about your freedom and your liberation. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. The US has had their elections. Um, that person won. And why does this matter for people like you? People who are watching my channel are people who are either currently living abroad or people who have a interest in living abroad. So why, excuse me, y'all, why is something like this important for those type of people, that population? What I will say briefly about my feelings about everything is that this wake up call is going to really separate the people who are really ready to do something different and the people who are not, right? By force is going to force you to make some decisions about how you want to live, where you want to live, what you want to do with yourself, with your life, and how you see yourself moving forward, you and your family. On a personal note, those of you who are new here, those of you who've been here, you know this already. I have been living abroad since 2015. So next year would be 10 years of me living outside of my home country, which is the United States. And I really appreciate that experience that I've been having because it has opened my mind up to the fact that people live differently all over the world. There is no one way to do life. There is no one way to do government. There's no one way to do diplomacy, community, culture. There's so many different ways to do it. And I think once you have that experience, then it opens you up to, well, is this right? Like the way that I was taught and I was feeling about certain things, is that the only way? Is it the best way? Could there be other ways of doing things? And so that experience has forever, I say, changed my life, whether I decide to continue to live abroad or I decide to go back to my home country. The experience that I've had so far has supremely impacted how I view people, people relations, and how things can be and how it is possible for everyone to just create the life that they really want to have. And I talk about creating the life. I say that every time I do a YouTube video, I help Black women create the life that they deserve. And it is of your creation. And I do want to root this conversation in, you can create the life that you want wherever you are, because that life is dependent on you. And don't get fixated on giving someone else so much power, so much energy that you take away your own. Right? Yes, the elections happen. Some of us are not pleased with the outcome of the election, but does that mean that you can't have the life that you want? And to that, I say absolutely not. We all have the power to create the life that we want, whether we're in our minds creating it, and then we're manifesting it into the physical. But we have that opportunity, and a particular person being in office doesn't stop you or anybody from doing just that. So we're going to talk about that today, what that can look like. When we say create the life that you deserve, regardless of who is in a presidential seat, a Senate seat, a House of Representatives seat, local governorship, mayor, it doesn't matter. Okay. So the first part of this is like, okay, for those of you who are like, this has happened and this is really kicked you into gear of, okay, I really want to move abroad. I've been thinking about moving abroad for so long, and like this is just the final straw that broke the camel's back. And you're like, this is something I want to do. I'm 100% certain. The first thing I want you to think about is your why. Okay. Out of all those years that you've been thinking about this thing, you've been going back and forth about, is moving abroad something for you? Is it something for your family? Is it something that can really happen? I want you to spend even more time thinking about your why. Why are you leaving the US at this time? Is it for a better lifestyle? Is it for safety? Is it the cost of living? Is it that you have other opportunities in other places, etc.? Because getting crystal clear about your why and defining your reasons for why at this particular moment now feels like the time for you to go. That's going to help you narrow down where you want to go. And once you narrow that down, it'll also help you later, because it'll be a space where you can build more meaningful experiences because you were clear about what you're doing in that new space. So spend some time, take your emotions out of it, right? But really spend some time thinking about why. I know I hear a lot of people talking about, well, I don't want to be running away from the US. If you need to run, run. If you need to skip, skip. If you need to jog, jog. If you need to power walk, power walk. If you need to crawl, crawl. Nobody gets to tell you how you leave, but you get to tell yourself what is your real why. And once you identify that why, then you can identify what place best suits my why. As many of you know, I have lived in South Africa and I currently live in Ghana. Ghana may not be the place for you. South Africa may not be the place for you, just because it was for me. You may be a person where Southeast Asia fits your why better. Maybe you're like all into yoga and health and wellness, and you really want to dive deeper into that. You're not going to find that in Ghana. You're not going to find that deep rooted space like that in a space like Ghana. So Ghana wouldn't be the best place for you if you're looking to move abroad. So once you get that why, that will help you narrow down where you want to go. Once you are now clearly certain that, like, okay, based off of how all of this stuff has gone, I really am interested in moving abroad. And so then when we think about, okay, I've made up my mind, this election has really kickstarted or taken the thing from just a thought and the sticks laying on the ground to, okay, it's a fire now. Okay, I have the fire in my belly to move. You've identified why, which will help you figure out a location. Then you want to start thinking about some of those steps for building community before you move. And the reason that I say that is because once you move abroad, there is it can be lonely. I'm just going to be very frank in saying that. moving abroad can be lonely. You don't have your friends, you don't have your family, you don't have the things that were like your comfort items, right? Your comfort foods, your comfort furniture, your comfort places to go. You just don't have those things. So it can be a lonely experience. That's a part of the journey, but you can overcome that, right? And one of the ways that you can overcome that is by creating a community in the place that you're going. But you don't have to necessarily wait until you get there to create that community. That's something that you can be doing ahead of time. So that could look like joining a expat and or a local community group online. Being using your discernment, right, to figure out if the online space that you're in is good for you and who you are as a person, but nonetheless building or excuse me joining those types of communities. Like one of the best communities that I've seen online is the Blackit community, right? And then there's also, let me look it up on Instagram. I actually interviewed on this sister's channel on Instagram. I think it's is it Blacksit or is it another one? Let's see. Oh gosh, why can't I remember it? Okay, I'm gonna find it before we end this thing, or if I can't find it before we end it, I'm gonna put it in the comments. But there's an app, right? And it's all for like Black travelers who want to live abroad, and there's a different countries. You can join those groups. Also, for those who are interested in Africa, there is a WhatsApp group called Afropolitan, right? Where you can join based on country. Like, okay, if you're interested in South Africa, you can do the South Africa chat. If you're interested in Nigeria, you can do the Nigeria chat. If it's Tanzania, you can do that chat. So there are places like that. Also, one for women is it's Stephanie and Rashida Exodus Summit, right? Following those pages, like join online places that are communities for where you're going. I'm in a sorority, so we also have what we call Greeks on the motherland, right? So you're able to meet other fraternity and sorority men and women in that group prior to you getting to that country. So building that community before going, I think, is a really good first step. Right now, if you're sitting in your house, it's a Saturday, you're still feeling a little bit bad about this elections, but you know you're ready to go. You may even have in mind what country you want to go to. Right now, pick up your phone and go on Facebook and Google, expat groups in Portugal, expat groups in Costa Rica, expat groups in Mexico, right? And join one. Okay, that's a perfect first step that you can do, and it don't cost you no money to do it. Another thing I would have you do is follow creators, content creators who already live abroad, and like not just the ones who are taking trips, the ones who really like that is what they do, and you can tell from their content, right? Like myself, I have been living abroad for 9 years, going on 10. If you look at my Instagram, I have a very regular life. I really live in the place where I live, right? And you can tell. So when I'm speaking on my Instagram or on this YouTube channel, I'm giving you the real from somebody who's been doing it for a very long time. There are a few other content creators that I would ask you or encourage you to look at. Ashley in Africa. She's lived in Tanzania and also South Africa. She creates amazing content around what it's like to live there. And she also has children. So if you're a woman who has children, maybe you're a single mother, then she will be a great person to look at because she's showing that lifestyle. I mentioned earlier Rashida and Stephanie, who have the Exodus Summit. Stephanie has bounced around the globe. I think Rashida's based out of Mexico. They really have done this for years, right? So they know what that space looks like. And so, when you're watching them, you're really getting some truthful, good content. I'm not talking about these like live abroad influencers, right? Where they're just trying to sell trips to you, trip packages to you. I'm talking about people who really have been in those spaces and know what's what. Okay. And so after you've done that, again, that's free. It don't cost you anything to do that. The next thing that I would have you to do, if you have friends or family abroad, reach out to them, right? And even if it's not like your direct friend, or your direct family member, like if you have a friend of a friend or a college mate that maybe you need to reconnect with or something like that, go ahead and reach out to them, make that connection, and see what their experience has been. I know before I went to South Africa, I reached out to some fellow Howard alumni who were living in Africa already. They weren't living in actually, one was in South Africa. Nicole was in South Africa, but the other was in Tanzania. But nonetheless, they were people that I knew who had lived outside. There also was a high school friend of mine, Karen. She was was it Cambodia? I think it was somewhere in Southeast Asia, but she was already living and teaching abroad. Right. So I was like, okay, let me reach out to her just to see what their experiences were like. This is your best first step. These 3 things I just told you are your best first step, and it's free for you to do because all of these things are going to give you more context, more to go off of when you're thinking about practical day-to-day life. What is going to look like for me, what it's going to feel like, who are the type of people that I may be able to connect with and build community with outside of my home country. And that's something that's going to be extremely important because, like I said, a natural part of the process when you live abroad is that you will have a little loneliness here and there. And to combat some of those things, you really want to have community, and you can start doing that early. Another thing that you want to think about that's like a key second step, right, is thinking about your finances and your legal preparations for moving. And this is the part where I feel like people get really scared. And you don't have to be scared. There's too many people who've already done it for you to not have to be fearful of it. And so I just want to give you a few key things to like look at. The very first one is the visa and the residency options, but not just the options, but how much they cost. So, like, for example, in Ghana, if you have a residency or work permit, there's a fee attached to that. And that fee is something that you have to pay every single year. Thankfully, I now have citizenship, so I don't have to worry about that. But when I did have a work permit, that was $1,000 every year that had to be paid. So when you're looking up, okay, visa requirements, the truth of the matter is most countries have relaxed visa requirements for US citizens. But when you're trying to live in that country long term, like more than 90 days, this is where you start to get into the residency. And you need to know what is the fee for residency for that country and what is the annual renewal for that residency for that country, so that that's something that you're calculating into your budget. Another thing that you want to look at is if you're going to be like a digital nomad. Like you see on the screen, it says She Works Digital Africa. I have a virtual assistant agency. I am a virtual assistant in addition to other work that I do. I've been a virtual assistant for a few years now because that helps keep USD coming into my pocket. And that helps me live a comfortable lifestyle in Ghana. Because yes, I do work in Ghana, but that particular work pays in cedis. Well, as those of you who are familiar with the African ecosystem, the translation of the money goes up and down a lot, right? And so for me to feel more comfortable, more stable, I consistently have kept some USD coming so that I can do that. So also when you're looking at the residency and work and all that, if you're looking at being a digital nomad, also check to see if that country offers a special type of visa for people like you, because that would be very helpful, especially when it comes time for you to file taxes, when it comes time for you to, make your budget in that country, not have to depend on that particular country per se for all of your financial means. So just check into that just to see. Another part of like the financial and the legal preparation is you really do kind of need a financial plan. I know I've told you all a million times, when I first went to Africa, I didn't have a financial plan, but I also went as a Peace Corps volunteer. So I didn't need a financial plan. I knew that the government was going to pay me, they were going to house me, they were going to make sure that I was safe. When I moved to Ghana, I just kind of moved. I took a little bit of money with me, but I really was winging it. Right. And so I don't necessarily encourage that for everybody, because everybody doesn't have the same situation. Like, I was a single woman going to a country, so I can make it work for myself, right? It was easy for me to kind of maneuver because it was just me. But in these days, this day and age, as they say, this is not, Ghana is not the same Ghana of 2017. you know, Paris is not the same Paris of 2017. We've had a whole world pandemic. We've had a lot of our economies go up and down and up and down. And so it's not the same landscape. So in this sense, I think you should have a financial plan. You want to budget for the move, have a certain amount set for your savings, and be very clear about the cost of living. Last year, I did a cost of living video for Ghana. I will do another one for this upcoming year so that people have a really clear, up-to-date picture of what a day-to-day comfortable life in Accra, Ghana can look like. And then you also can find that information online for other countries as well. But that's one of those things you really want to look at in regards to financial planning. Another part of it is, are you going to do remote work, or are you going to be looking for opportunities in that country to work, or are you bringing a business to that country? The most expensive one is bringing a business to that country, because that means you're going to spend. You're going to spend before you get. So if you're a person who's looking to do business in a country, you need to make sure that you have at least 1 year's worth of money to sustain your personal life and your business. And that's minimum, right? The second one that I think is the second hardest is finding a job opportunity, especially if you're coming into Africa. A lot of African countries have high unemployment rates, which means that the people that are already there don't have jobs. So what job are you coming to take? It also may be like in South Africa, they have a quota. They can only hire a certain amount of foreign nationals in their businesses, right? So that one, depending on your skills and what you offer, that one could be harder. It could be easy. It really kind of depends on you. The remote workspace, I think, is ideal because, again, it's going to keep foreign currency coming into you. It's also going to allow you flexibility in your time and your schedule, so you can still kind of explore the place and get to know it, but still also have money coming in. And the last thing under financial and legal matters when you're prepping to move is looking at the healthcare and the insurance. So you definitely want to research what healthcare options are available. Canada is one of those places that has like universal healthcare. So that's a really good option for people with families. The UK also, I believe, has universal healthcare. So that might be a good option for people with families and younger children, right? In Africa, you're going to want some private insurance, because everything is pay out of pocket, right? So you're probably going to want some private international insurance that you can use while you are spending that time away. All right. I know I have given y'all a lot of information so far, but this is something that, times are changing and things are happening so much faster. Like, things are coming to pass so much faster. So all the slow dragging of the feet, the lollygagging around, it's time to cut that out. Right? We got to move, and we got to make moves quick. So another thing I want you to think about in your prep to move abroad is the whole like mental and emotional piece, right? Because that really is a thing. So when I say mental and emotional preparation, the very first thing I want you to like get in your mind is that like you're going to be outside of your comfort zone, and you have to embrace that. Like, yes, maybe you're not comfortable in the US right now. You feel like, okay, these elections, I really just didn't believe that this is how this thing was going to turn out, and I just can't take it anymore. Also understand that living abroad is going to be a different zone, right? And those people have ways that they do things. They have their own culture, their own foods, their own languages, and just, acknowledge that like there are going to be some challenges with moving abroad, and you need to be adaptable. You need to be flexible, right? Because you're going to be outside of your comfort zone, and that's okay. It's all right to be outside of your comfort zone, because there are going to be so many other like beautiful experiences that come along with you being outside of your comfort zone. And then also just like practicing patience and being open. you know I was never like a super patient person. Anybody who knew me from like university prior to me leaving to come to Africa, Nzali has like short fuse. Like, I don't have time for foolishness. I don't have time for a lot of different things. But people who knew me then, who know me now, are like, you have grown tremendously in this like being patient space. And I think the reason that like this is a very key one is because it's like you're having all these different cultural experiences that are different from yours. There may be a different language spoken in the place that you are, and adjusting to that new environment is going to require you to slow down. In the States, we like everything instant, fast, moving, deadlines, timelines, all of this. A lot of other places in the world move way slower than the US, and it's okay. It's going to give your body a chance to reset, to recalibrate, to reduce some of your stress, let your blood pressure go down, all of that type of stuff. And that's good, but you have to be open to it. You have to be ready to kind of just like, okay, let me take a beat, let me breathe, let me sit in this new experience. And then a part of that also is just you acknowledging that, like, okay, yes, there will be some homesickness that will come, right? There's going to be some homesickness, but you can still maintain those connections. Get online with people, schedule the video calls, have some of your family and friends come and visit you, because they're going to need a vacation. Even if you're watching this video right now and you have no intention of moving abroad, you might have an intention on taking a few more trips than you normally would, right? And just this is a total, not side note, but it applies. I know a really good travel agency, Posh Getaways by Paris, that offer really, really good trips. And I foresee a lot of us in the US, especially those who are not happy with this election, we're going to need more trips. Okay. So if you're not ready to move, but you're going to need some more trips to help balance out yourself, that's fine. And for those who are willing to make the move, homesickness happens, but that doesn't mean your family and friends can't come and visit you. It doesn't mean you can't go back and visit them and keep those connections so that it's not overwhelming for you. Okay. And again, that's going to lead me into this next piece, which is like, previously I spoke about building community before you go, but once you are there, you can still continue that process. It will even like expand, because you'll go to meetups, you'll go to expat events, even maybe learning the language or some of the local customs, getting involved in the community. All of those things are going to help you cultivate your people in that new place. For example, like in Ghana, we have the African Americans Association of Ghana. So like all the Black Americans, we have this organization where we have like cookouts together. We have Thanksgiving stuff together. There's these meetings. Like, it helps you feel like it's home away from home. Like it gives you that little dose of what you need to keep you going and getting you through while you're having this like new experience, you know? And so all in all, like, I said from the beginning, that man has won. Things are changing quickly, and it's okay. And in the midst of all of these different changes that are happening in the US, it's okay. Breathe, but also be intentional about what you want your experience to be, whether that means you're ready to actually take that step that you've been thinking about, which is moving abroad, but just being intentional about it and being open to the growth, being open to the process, because that's really what this is. This election and how it has turned out is an opportunity for those of us who are on the other side to really grow, to really figure out what our next step is, and to start moving in that direction. And so if your final or your next step, excuse me, is moving abroad, having that experience where you're living in another country and experiencing that, I encourage you all to take it step by step, use some of the things, or start thinking about some of the things that I've mentioned in this video, and just be open to the journey and trust the journey. Know that it's not going to be like this super quick fix, right? It won't be that, but it can be rewarding. all at the same time. And maybe this was just the catalyst that you needed to get yourself moving, to give you enough of that oomph to get the ball rolling on your move abroad journey. So I just want to, ask you all, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments. If you're watching from the replay, I definitely will go back and read those. And I always respond to comments in the chat. So I definitely will get back to you. If you have any questions and you're watching live, you can drop those now and I'll answer those. And again, I do want to leave you with the question, like, what are your reasons for wanting to move abroad right now? What is that reason? And based off of that reason, where are you considering going? Okay, I would like to see that in the chat. I invite you all to subscribe to this channel, like the video, share it with your family and friends, because on here I will be talking plenty about this whole move abroad journey. Also continuing to share my experience as I live abroad in Africa. And, I'm a resource. I have lots of information, lots of life experience that I am willing to share with you all. You can also follow me on Instagram. That is at Nzali Takes Africa. Let me just post that now. If you DM me, I will DM you back. Don't worry. If you want to send me an email, you can always email me, nzalitakesafrica@gmail.com. And I'm wishing you all the best. The sun is going down, but I wish you all the best. I want y'all to continue to breathe. Don't let this thing overwhelm you, because it don't have to be all of that. It really, really doesn't. Feel what you feel, but also know that there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm excited for those of you who are like, yes, this is the thing that's going to get me up out of the US and into another country and into a new experience that I'm creating for myself. And yeah, I look forward to chit-chatting with you guys again soon. All right, y'all take care. Y'all stay blessed. Until the next time, peace. Oh, wait, just one more question. Someone said that they're returning to Ghana in December to continue teaching as a volunteer. Awesome, in Volta. Aquaba, welcome again, and I would love to see you while you're there. All right, peace out, y'all. Bye.